Greetings, sisters and brothers, and welcome again to Tyke Productions. I am your host, Talib Muhammad, and today we're going to address why you should never agree to talk to the police. Never. Ever. Many people have suffered severe consequences from their decision to talk to police officers, in spite of the fact that virtually all of them knew that they had the right to remain silent. So, sisters and brothers, let's delve into why you should never talk to the police. Here today on Each One Teach Two. Before we begin our examination into this subject, I submit to you this disclaimer. The content in this video is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you are in need of legal counsel, contact a licensed attorney in your respective state or country. All of us have watched films and television shows where we see a person in a police station being questioned or interrogated by detectives in regards to a criminal investigation of some sort. We've also viewed scenes where the cop questions a person who he or she suspects of being a suspect in a crime. The characters in these scenes often comply and converse with the officers in an attempt to simply cooperate or to convince the cop that he or she is innocent of any crime. Of course, unlike the movies, life is not so scripted, and talking to the police can be extremely detrimental to your well-being. So the question is, should you ever talk to the police? The answer is an unequivocal no. You should never agree to talk to the police. Ever. Never. How long is never? Even if you are even if you've done absolutely nothing wrong, even if you are 100% innocent, you should never agree to talk to the police. And here are some of the reasons. Why would you agree to be isolated in a room with an adversarial law enforcement officer who has years of professional training in investigations and interrogations, while you have virtually none? This is the police officer's ballpark. This is his or her area of expertise. It doesn't matter if it's your first time being questioned by the police or your 10th time. You will never achieve the level of expertise of any law enforcement officer who has been conducting interrogations for years and perhaps decades. And for our younger sisters and brothers, do not allow your ego to get you into a state of affairs that you cannot get out of. If you think that your street savvy will work for you in a police interrogation room, you are sadly mistaken. If you bring that round the way street corner mentality into a professional interrogation with the mindset that you can talk your way out of the situation, you may as well just confess and turn yourself in, because brother, you are talking yourself into a jail cell. Once a cop has informed you that you are not free to leave, and always feel free to ask the officer or detective if you are free to leave. He or she just may say yes because they just might not have enough evidence to detain you. But if you don't ask, you won't know. Now, if they deny your request to leave, immediately ask for a lawyer and evoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. The bottom line is to keep your mouth shut and do not talk to the police. You're not going to talk or finesse or BS yourself out of an arrest if the police officer has enough evidence to charge you with a crime. At that point, nothing you say is going to get you out of the situation. However, talking to the police may get you into an arrest if the cop determines that your statement somehow strengthens his or her case. Please understand that law enforcement works hand in hand with the prosecution office. The primary goal of any police interrogation is to gather enough evidence that will lead to an arrest and a conviction in a criminal case. The police are on the same side of the law as the criminal prosecutor is, which means the cop is not on your side. The police can even surreptitiously obtain your fingerprints or DNA without your knowledge or consent and use this information against you, and it's all perfectly legal. Now, let's address a situation where you feel that you are completely innocent and have nothing to hide. And talking to the police can't possibly be a problem for you because you've done nothing wrong. Well, sisters and brothers, if you are indeed innocent, that is even more of a reason for you not to talk to the police. Please know that if you misspeak or say something in jest or make an honest mistake trying to remember something, the police can and will use that statement against you, even if you immediately state that you misspoke and you correct yourself. If the police believe that that statement helps their case, most cops will use it against you. It is also possible that although you are completely innocent of a crime that the police are investigating, you may inadvertently comment on having committed an act that you were not aware was even a crime. This happens more often than one would think. Now, the police have you admitting to having committed a crime that wasn't even the one that they were investigating, and you can be arrested. Now, suppose you're simply a witness to a crime and you have no trepidation about talking to the police because you've done nothing wrong and you are sincerely trying to help the police by providing them with information. You're a good citizen. You want to do the right thing. This too can cause you a problem because there is a possibility that the police will not believe you are simply a witness and instead suspect that you were in some way involved with the crime. Now, they reach this conclusion, justified or not, because you've chosen to speak to the police. If you can indeed be considered a material witness in an investigation, let the police get a subpoena. Witnesses who are compelled to testify under subpoena are entitled to immunity in exchange for their testimony. But you will receive nothing if you voluntarily talk to the police. You will have no legal protection as you've agreed to talk to the police without a lawyer. A fact of U.S. law that many are unfamiliar with concerns the fact that if you make statements to law enforcement and you are 100% consistent throughout the entire interrogation process and the deposition and the testimony at your trial, and you stuck to your story consistently without wavering in any way, you are not allowed to use that consistency in your favor in a court of law. However, prior inconsistent statements are admissible, and you can have 100 consistent statements and they cannot be used in your defense. However, one inconsistent statement can be used against you and bring your credibility into question. Sisters and brothers, there is absolutely no advantage of talking to the police. If you are completely innocent and you want to help the police, talk to an attorney first. Obtain some legal advice. Any information that you have in regards to any criminal investigation can be presented to law enforcement by way of your attorney. Now, perhaps the best reason not to talk to the police is that it is your right not to do so. It is nonsensical to waive a right simply because someone is asking you to help them out, as many police officers will ask you to do, in an effort to persuade you to make a statement. You are under no obligation to help out the police. You wouldn't waive your right to vote simply because a cop asked you to do so. So don't waive your right to remain silent either. In the United States of America, every police officer has the right to lie to you. It is completely legal for the police to be fraudulent, dishonest, or manipulative toward you at any point during questioning or an interrogation. In the 1969 Supreme Court case of Frazier versus Cook, the court ruled that it is lawful for police to use deceptive interrogation practices. This means that they can come to you and tell you any lie they can think of. They can say that they already have you on video committing the crime, or that they have witnesses placing you at the scene of the crime. They may say something like they have computer evidence proving that you're guilty of the crime, and it'll go better for you if you come clean and ease your conscience and tell them the truth. And they'll ask the prosecutor to go easier on you. Any and all of these deceptive tactics can be used lawfully by the police in their attempt to persuade you into making a statement that can and will be used against you in a court of law. Another tactic police use is to ask you to come into the station so they can talk to you, so they can clear you of suspicion in a criminal investigation. This is a highly deceptive tactic that can only result in future problems for you. The police may even tell you that it is in your best interest to come into the police station to give your account of what really happened. Do not accept legal advice from the police. Your best interests are not their best interests. They may even say something like they have people who have made allegations against you, and this is your opportunity to set the record straight. Sisters and brothers, do not fall for this okie doke. It is all nonsense. If the police have strong evidence against you, they will obtain a warrant for your arrest and forcibly bring you into the police station. Of course, the same rule applies in that scenario. Say nothing except, I want a lawyer and I want to evoke my right to remain silent. Now, in regards to remaining silent, it is commonly known that all citizens have the right to remain silent. That said, it is imperative to understand that in order to assert that right, you must verbally state that you are invoking the right to remain silent. The silence itself is not sufficient toward invoking the right to remain silent. In other words, not making any comment whatsoever and just being completely silent does not invoke your right to remain silent. You must verbally state that you're invoking your right to remain silent in order for the right to be invoked. Now, I know this may sound a bit of a contradiction. It's a little bit confusing. On one hand, you're supposed to remain silent, but you have to verbally express your desire to do so. But this is the law based on a 2010 Supreme Court ruling in a case, Burgess versus Tompkins. That ruling established that suspects must explicitly invoke their right to remain silent. This rule was extended in law in the Salinas versus Texas case in 2013. In that case, the court ruled that the Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination does not apply to a suspect prior to arrest. This means that if you make a self-incriminating statement to the police prior to an arrest and the reading of your Miranda rights, that statement can and will be used against you in a court of law. Your right against self-incrimination does not apply in that circumstance. So, don't talk to the police. Please understand, just as you must verbally ask for an attorney, in spite of the fact that you have the right to an attorney, and that in spite of the fact that you have the right to remain silent, you must verbally request that attorney. The same applies in regards to invoking your right to remain silent. It must be verbally stated. In conclusion, sisters and brothers, I reiterate, there is never a reason to agree to talk to the police. There is nothing good that can come out of such an encounter, and the possibility of something harmful happening to you is all too real. Whereas most police officers are professionals doing their job and serving their collective communities, there are some who do not have even the most basic humanitarian principles and will not hesitate to harm you, especially if you are unaware of your rights. Well, sisters and brothers, we at Tac Productions would like to thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. And we hope that the information therein is of some benefit to you. If you approve of the content, please give us a like and subscribe. Finally, I leave you with this. As much as you would like to think that you can trust the police, please remember, the police are trained to never trust you. Until next time, I bid you peace.
Law enforcement in the United States, thanks largely to the war on drugs, routinely targets people of color, often living in ghetto areas, for stops and searches, typically in a futile effort to find drugs. The drug war is responsible for the arrest, incarceration, and branding of millions of people of color as felons, relegating them to a permanent second-class status for life. Drug use, abuse, as well as drug dealing is just as prevalent in white communities as it is in poor communities of color. But the drug war has been waged almost exclusively in ghetto communities, resulting in what I believe is a racial undercast, an enormous population of black and brown folks who are poor, who've been labeled felons for engaging in precisely the same kind of behavior, illegal drug activity, that goes ignored in middle-class white communities.